This project is being created by a whole team of international leaders in technology, media, and of course peace building. So the idea is to create a platform for peace, and the motto is how to make peace more profitable than war. So that's something that makes us really connect with this. Okay. We're going to change things. So this project was created by She's from New York and a very good friend I met back in 2018 in EarthX in Dallas. It's very interesting because our connection was more about creating a social impact and also environmental impact. And after the pandemic, we came together again and we were inspired, of course, by everything that was happening in the world. Not in the positive way, but inspired of doing something different, because we see a tendency to war, to also this hate that we carry inside, and the key word here is healing. So healing is something that has to come before peace, because we tend to repeat situations, as Oscar said before, everything is inside us. How we talk to ourselves and how we talk to the world is what really continues a series of intern conversations and how we relate to everything that is around us. So in this term, we came to the fact that in order to heal, the best way is to use music and sound. The sound healing is key part of how we use the messages that we transmit to ourselves, but also the messages that we share with others and with nature. So that's how this project came to life. So I think it's now ready.
We stand on the verge of a new era, witnessing unique events that are shaping our future. Amidst the rise of technology, a shift into human and natural perspectives is needed. The next revolution must be intellectual and emotional. The Peace Train brings together an intergalactic band of artists, leaders, and thinkers with the aim of healing people, lands, and generations to come. From across the universe, the echoes of peace resonate from generation to generation. Once again, the band plays together to ease the path of healing through music and reconnection with nature. A transgenerational shift towards peace building is necessary. While we honor the past and its enemies, our attempts to learn them have often fallen short. What's needed now is to move forward and heal. We've witnessed suffering, famine, illness, and war. Irrational hatred has claimed countless lives. Conflict may be inherent to reality, but its escalation reflects a lack of willingness and ability to resolve it. Fire cannot be extinguished by fire, just as hate cannot be diminished by hate. What's needed is an active balance. Peace is an active construction for love, joy, and prosperity. In this first act, the compass brings the peace train to France, following the Liberty Road of World War II, the path of liberation that started in Normandy on June 6, 1944, on D-Day. Our goal is to heal the pain of individual and collective traumas related to war, nestled in our memories. Guided by Technicolor art cars, adorned with prayers for the world, we embark on our mission. Through concerts, meditations, talks, and a transmedia platform into the Metaverse, our band reshapes the world's approach to peace through individual efforts that lead to international diplomatic actions, creating a global community that declares peace, a mission that transforms the individual into the collective, elevating consciousness to achieve an overview effect. All aboard the Peace Train.
Perfect. So this project, as you heard, is a transmedia project that is based on a documentary that will be
created in real time during the day, 2025. Marine's mother has a foundation that is Operation Democracy, that is an alliance between United States and France. So they have several events every year. This year was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and next year is the 81st. So the context is to heal first this moment that normally when we have these events is more about just repeating the memory, but why not going one step beyond and using art and sound to create a shift in mind. So that's the key thing, is sound healing is a key solution for the trauma of the world. And also we have all these ecosystem that is the meditations. We have an alliance with Deepak Chopra. The peace portals that are installations that can be in different venues such as museums or even events such as this one. Docu-series, art cards that are auctioned after the event. Immersive and Metaverse, that is the part that I'm leading to create the Metaverse for peace, and also the VR 360 documentary about everything that is going to happen in the summer. A global streaming, social media and creators, that is a community. Web3 and benevolent AI, we call it like that because we really want to push the use of AI in a more proactive way. So just really quick, these are our allies. Also, the community is really big. We are here. Marine is the founder. I am a part of Immersive Media, and Steph, we are like the creators. We have been here for over a year and a half, creating this great community, and everybody else that is really, really amazing people. These are the artists that we have in our ecosystem, and some influencers that are also creating this impact more than the art, also to create alliances and hopefully reaching also the UN and other organizations to push further into peace. And there's a pledge fund that we are promoting in order to also impact in other associations and NGOs. Okay, so basically this is the project that we are pushing for next year, and we are in the funding process, and it's like a huge project, as you can see. It's not been easy, but we are striving and pushing this to happen because we believe that this can be something that can change the world in many ways, and it's just a part of a culture. Of course, it's a dream. And we want to really make a change for the world that we are living in. Thank you very much. And now we're moving into the panel. With this context, now you know why I'm here, and also why we are inviting this to talk about world peace. So thank you. Okay. I invite Nonny and Gabo to be part. I will put. Okay, perfect. See? Okay. We have two microphones.
There's my bottle of water right there. I'll just take it. Thanks. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Creo que está apagado.
Gracias.
Okay. I think we have like 30 minutes. We can make it really quick. Well, once again, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure hearing you, and that having you here at VR Fest is, especially with all the experience that you have, and the perspective that you have gained throughout the years, I consider that is never easy, as you said, Gabo, before, to find resources and interest. Maybe there's interest, but really an investor that say, okay, I will support this and make it happen. Sometimes in the academic side it's easier, maybe, you will tell me. But I would like to start with that. How do you think that these stories that you have shared can be really extended to be more mainstream and also more popular? Because we're used to media that privilege violence. When you see some platforms that prefer to buy series about murderers and about things like that, instead of things that are good for society. So how you think or envision this can happen even in an utopic way? Gabo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me? Everyone, yeah. Yeah, I have a different point of view because, like Nonny mentioned, and in her talk, and like I talked about it, you might not be reaching the same amount of people right now, but you're having a bigger impact on who you do reach. So you might have a YouTube video, that has millions of views, but it's passive, and I think you just have to stay par to the course that as hopefully the headsets and everything get lighter and better, and I've already seen it. Yes, it's been 10 years, and I was, hoping it would be a lot more mainstream, and it's not, and we have to admit that that's a problem. But in some ways, what gives me hope is that the people you do reach, it has a bigger impact. I think there are very interesting ways that, again, what Nonny was sharing with her platform, I've also experimented with that. But I think one has to realize that if you do something important and it has an effect unlike anything else, that eventually it will get there, And it's been 10 years since I made Clouds of Rositra, and people still want to see it. It's been 10 years, and more people are seeing it because there's more and more headsets, and there's more of an ecosystem. So, is VR silent films or a fine wine, Like I don't know, like in the sense that we still watch Chaplin, and things just get better sometimes with age, depending on some of the work. I'm convinced, if you took Nonny's work, if you took a lot of this wave of people who worked on this work, and if you put on an exhibit in any city, it would be a sensation, and I think people would be really into it. So there's still going to be, it's a test of time, but it is a difficult question.
It's amazing how new headsets are. But I also want to turn to your original thing that you showed, because I think one of the interesting questions has been this idea. I love this concept that you have on the peace economy.
Yes.
As we've been talking about that a lot, which is like basically, the clothing you wear, the gathering here, the food we've been eating. This is all part of the peace economy,
Correct.
right? If we were being bombed right now, we would not be gathering. We would not be able to purchase our clothes. We've got to try to get a counterbalance to the defense economy. Because basically people like Palmer, who I showed, who's now in the weapons business, a lot of the VCs are now investing in military stuff.
Correct.
And I think that what Gabo's work clearly showed you, the profound capacity for our ability to storytell peace. And I think if we can also storytell the idea that peace is a moneymaker, and we don't have to just be making money from military stuff.
That's correct. Especially, I have heard that many of the funds, well, we don't know what's going to happen in the States now with the new government, but I think it will be kind of the same. But many of the funds that went to culture in the States, in Mexico, or even in Canada are going to, well, more in Canada, in the United States, are going towards war. So all the investment is going there, and some other projects, cultural projects especially, are being canceled because that funds are being sent to another place. So certainly the economy has to do with everything that is around us, is, as you said, from clothes to food, and also from the relationships that we have between us, is how we privilege one thing or the other, is the impact that we're creating. So talking about VR products, because I know, well, we know that VR is not easy to share because it's one headset, one person. Of course, there are immersive installations and some other ways to make business about these kind of experiences. But at the end, it's about the impact because we measure probably the economic part, but we can also measure the social impact, and that's another kind of income that not all the governments and decision makers are aware of, because that's social good at the end, and that will represent at the end, of course, worth and wellness for people. But it's not a long-term view. It's just a short-term. I want money, and that's how I support. So just to close with a question for you. Virtual reality is being known as the empathy machine, how we can turn it into an action machine in terms of reaching more people. What do you think about that concept?
So as Gabo noted, there's still a bit of a gap. So where do you go? You have to go to decision makers. So the piece I did across the line that I briefly showed where the Border Patrol in the United States killed an immigrant, beaten, tasered him to death. That piece got picked up by America's, what they call Homeland Security, and they used it to train Border Patrol officers, and I didn't even know till somebody from Homeland Security contacted me. So we may still seem like we're making a small impact, but maybe we're making impacts that actually can move in interesting ways. So we're just beginning, though, and now that you're able to start capturing everything volumetrically and play back volumetrically just on your phone, we're en route to this change.
Yeah, I want to, I mean, just in terms, I want to answer your question about how these things, there is an amazing opportunity also, and in my lab at Hopkins, I would just set it up with my work and some other work of other artists that had agreed to exhibit it in my lab, and I just had doctors, nurses, historians, all the different people in the university to just come and experience it. You know, we would do these summits, and I would do appointments. I'd say the first year I was there, it was just people going, wow, you know, like, this is incredible. Second year, I started getting emails from them saying, well, how would this work for, I don't know, I'm working on something on domestic violence, or I think I want to do a simulation. Would this work for that? Or, you know, there was a whole thing they had done with the role of sarcasm with autistic patients. And, you know, is there a way to do something? You know, all these amazing ideas started coming across. So I think, you know, there is an incredible opportunity if you take this work and you show people, and it's hard, it's grassroots work. It's like knocking on doors, you know? It's canvassing. Like, you get people to see it, and then slowly they come up with new use cases for different industries in different ways, you know? And so similarly, I did something with Accenture on training for social workers, you know, and difficult conversations. So I think you have to just, that is the model, you know? You have to experience it. And then I think making an interdisciplinary way of getting people to do it. So I think there's an enormous opportunity. It's not the opportunity of what I thought it would be, is that I'd make something and I would be Martin Scorsese, you know, where it would be, there'd be a Netflix of VR and I was going to be the next big thing, yeah. Which is hopefully one day I will, you know, in VR. But, you know, it really is, there's this other opportunity, you know, that's also very exciting. And I think, you know, that's how you are able to raise money, that's how you're able to make the projects, and that's how you're able to do it. So rather than it being passive and it just goes on the webs and you get millions of likes, you have to set up those meetings, and you have to do that work.
The one thing about working at the university alongside my company is that we are able to host events. I suddenly have a platform where students, and we've been talking about this, but I hope next fall, I'm hoping I'm going to host an event, just XR for World Peace, that hopefully can be one of the cabooses on the peace train. And we invite anybody here who might be interested in talking, creating something, come to me, because I do have some funds. I'm also on a new initiative. Wendy Schmidt, the wife of Eric Schmidt from Google, has just started a new initiative called AGOG, and she's funding projects on technology with Technology for Good. So we're giving out big grants to people, and it's super exciting. There's something called I think I'm going to misquote it, the moral uplift that you might feel when you do good for other people. And giving away the money makes you feel this way, like, oh my God, I'm getting to do good in the world as well as making my own work. So I think we can continue to build on that ecosystem. But I do think we have to shift this concept that, oh yeah, military, billion-dollar thing. If we're going to do peace, we have to start saying to these stupid idiot VCs, yeah, there's money in the. I was actually in this deep discussion with the economist for the British government on this. I was trying to get him to help me think of, bullet points on how we can highlight, because wellness is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Certainly, yes.
And there are some VR projects, but what does it mean to be well in peacetime versus well in war? Like, what are the costs and the da-da-da? Anyway, please continue, sorry.
No,
This is a pet peeve.
it's exactly part of the next question that I have, that is more about storytelling, about telling the right story, about the embodiment that you have mentioned, about creating a space that can really break this gap with the uncanny valley that you also mentioned, but also with the empathy, but also with the journalism. So it's a balance after all. How you tell something that is attractive for people, but at the same time it gives a message, and it can be even transformational. I would like to give a quick example here in Mexico. Well, Alan is not here, but Gabi knows very well Alan Gonzalez. He's a very good friend that created two experiences. One is S19, that was about the earthquake that we had here in Mexico City. That was terrible. He just took his camera the next day with 360 and filmed everything. So, and he did the same with C19, that was about COVID-19. It's interesting, it has the same numbers, but what he did was so close to people. I want to talk about the earthquake right now, because I was really involved into the exhibition. It was in the Cineteca here in Mexico City. There was 3 levels. The first one was photographs from 1985. That was, it was interesting because the earthquake was the same date in different years, 1985 and 2017. So the first floor was about 1985. The second one, photographs and elements, about 2017, and the top was the VR. So the topic was so close to people because they lived here and they lived the earthquake. So they received it that way. As you said, many people were crying. They connected with the moment. People just took off the headset because it was so heavy for them, because it resonated with their own story. But it's not the same if I take that VR piece to another country that might not have even earthquakes or might not have the same empathy. But you create content. What do you think about it? That's my question. To create content for the local people, or for a more universal topic, or how you can make something that is local universal or universal local. So can people resonate at the same level? Well, not the same, but the message at the end is delivered well about how we can get together as humans, and we can promote peace, and we can really enable our superpowers that we have that are sleeping right now.
Just to make this fairly brief, but at Frontline, I wanted, it was Frontline and Nova when we did our climate change piece. Nova and I wanted to give people some things they could do to help, or what things could be done to actually help slow climate change. And Frontline was like, that's not our job, we don't do that, we seem biased if we were giving an opinion. But interestingly, and certainly in America, and I don't know if it's true here, the local TV stations, if there's a crisis, they say, here's how you call this person, and hotlines and numbers, and like, the local journalists have no problem with trying to offer solutions. And yet the national news was much more like, oh, we don't do that. So that's really interesting. So I think there's a real space for all of that. So when you say local, yes. When we say international, absolutely. There's space for both.
That's a really good point about local news. And I know in the I don't know how it is in Mexico, but I know in the States, a lot of people are losing trust in legacy media and bigger media. And there's a big push that there is still a lot of trust around local media because they are providing this sort of utility and they know them, and there's a different type of engagement. So I think that's an incredible example and an incredible opportunity to kind of figure that out. I don't know how to answer your question. I mean, I could tell you that I think about things universally, morally. I'm not trying to do anything of that sort. And, you know, I always say that I should be able to explain my project to you in 2 or 3 sentences, and you should get some goosebumps, and you should understand why it should exist in virtual reality. You know, I think it's just making that clear from the beginning. And it's always about having a certain angle on the story that has nothing to do with the technology. You know, Waves of Grace, the experience I did during the Ebola epidemic, where we go there, and I read it in the newspaper, it's a survivor because, you know, she became immune to Ebola, so she was able to touch and hug and be with orphans who had lost parents. And in Liberia, you would be in a 21-day isolation period because those orphans, they were just seeing hazmat suits and everything, but then DeConti could hug them and play with them and give them comfort, and she felt like somehow she had this superpower of having gone through something terrible, but then being able to be there for these kids. And, you know, that is a great story. And then the virtual reality comes with giving you a sense of what that reality is like. So each one, you know, Pincus with The Last Goodbye, he was going back to the camp because his twin sister, who was 8 years old, she didn't make it out of the camp. And as an older person, he was going back because he couldn't remember what she looked like. He had lost the memory, and he was feeling tortured by this. And so that kind of became the narrative sort of weave of what it would be. So I think generally it's those types of things with anything, which is just storytelling, that makes us really engage, you know? And I think then everything, the technology becomes secondary in some ways.
Certainly. Actually, in C19, it's interesting because Alan shifted into healing at the end. So after you see the experience, you go into a meditation room with more people and share your experience and all that. So it's catalytic at some point. It's very interesting. But yes, I think it's part of that connection at the end of how, of course, a director wants to tell a story, but at the end, what is interesting about this media is that users also have the power to shift the message or even create something new. And that's part of my last question for you. That is very interesting about new media and generative media in real time. Now we are moving into 6G and Wi-Fi 7 and all that is super fast internet, graphics will be able to travel in real time, like really, really fast. So how do you envision these new technologies and super fast internet and generative media and, of course, artificial intelligence will impact in the creation of stories that are more human than synthetic or virtual?
I just have to get people to answer my question from before, because this is exactly the issue. The AI is going to be able to be more and more difficult to discern if it's human, but if you need to stop an AI, as we're getting all these new technologies, how would you convince them that you're human? And I just have to get that question answered, because I think it's a really important one. What makes us human? Does anybody want to answer my question? Like, what makes us human in this advancing wave of technology? Anybody have an answer? Yes.
If I had to guess, I would say it's probably critical thinking. I feel like a lot of machine learning, especially AI, machine learning has always valued results and quick analysis more than human thinking. And more than ever, I see that, take for example, the trolley problem. When there's a deviation where you run over 5 people or you run over 1 person, I'm thinking AI would probably go for just 1 person, but there's more to it than that. And I do believe that AI still has a lot of area of improvement, even though AI does have a lot of improvements on it. I think.
But if the AI asked you, sorry, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'd be careful, but if the AI asked you, what would make you human, and you said, well, I have critical thinking, it would say, well, prove it. And that's where we are, right? I have had people say to me, well, maybe it's because I bleed. It's like, well, animals bleed. Well, I have, so they start to really define what makes you human, and how would you convince a AI that you understood critical thinking in a way that would be different than what a computer would think? And I think it's important questions as we go into this advanced world. We have to be prepared to talk an AI down from doing something really heinous. And we better be prepared to think about what really would define our humanity. There's my cautionary note, okay.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Thank you so much for going in there, though. I really appreciate it.
Gabo?
No, I thought that was great. That was great.
We've been friends a long time.
Remind me the question again.
What will be the way to use this technology to make it human, more human, and less synthetic?
I'm not sure. That's a hard question. I do think, with AI in general, with virtual reality stuff and everything, what people get excited by is the ability to describe worlds and just create them and be able to create characters. I think that's going to get something where it'll be amazing. You won't, right now, we have to do so much work in game engine and so many other ways, but I think the ability to create virtual worlds very seamlessly, I think, will be really great. But no, the human question is a hard one. I would answer that question as automatically, I think we're irrational, because I think that's what I think defines humanity, in the sense that we don't always do what is best for us, and I think that's what's really.
So that piece, the blurring test, because people were typing all these things into this program about what made them human, and the one that stuck out the most to me was, I'm human because I can find your creator and murder her. I was like, no. That's kind of a crazy irrational behavior. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah, even as hallucination, it's as humans we create. Well, I think that there are theories that human mind evolution because hallucinations, because that's how they perceive other ways of a relationship with the nature. That's one theory that I really like, because at the end is that we create based on new ideas that you never know where they came from, and that's how creativity is being present. So yes, that will be my question. My answer about that. How we create from nothing, from scratch, hallucinate at some point.
I find it so funny that we've picked that word, hallucinating, rather than say it's lying. Or it's misleading us. I mean, because I think
it's just wrong. It's an iteration at
we
the
say
end.
hallucinating, and we're like, but if it's like, no, it's doing something.
We need Oscar back.
Something.
Yeah, we need Oscar here, actually. Yes, I was thinking.
That guy was great.
Yeah,
Amazing.
That made the whole conference for me.
Yeah, because at the end, that's we need to think about other planets, the space, because we're always talking about this world, but we never know what's outside. And we are in problems that are in this sphere, and at the end, well, there's more beyond. And well, I think it's the next generations to solve that, but we can start thinking about it, especially because right now with SpaceX and all that, there will be more explorations and many discoveries, I bet. So we like to add something about peace, about creating, and more for creators. How would you recommend new creators and all the people that is looking at us in social media to start something new in terms of creating documentaries, stories that are more human and also reflecting our story? Of course, there's other kind of entertainment, but right now I'm talking more about creating for good. What would be your recommendation for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of is related to Oscar in some ways, you know, because he, you know, started his talk a bit, and you know, I have to understand it in Spanish, but what I understood, you know, it's being human has been so violent, you know. It's just like the history of where there's humans, there's war, and you know, it's just all of these things. So it's very easy to.
I think he really focused on men there, but.
Yeah. but yeah, that's a good point. But in a way, I think it can feel very overwhelming, but it's that paradox of being human that we know that we're just also very beautiful and very loving and very kind, right? So I think when you create, just having faith in people, you know, that really realizing that the way we think about, because you can take that data point and just be like, all humans are bad, you know, and we're all just conflict oriented. But that's not the case. There are things happening at the same time, and it's at the core of that paradox that I think, like, there's something there, you know, and I think we have to accept it, we have to work with it, you know. So I think just for me and the audience or whoever you're creating for, to really realize that any of these topics, usually people might tell you that people don't care or that it could never change, but it does, it works, you know, it works. Like I've seen it in people who have very different opinions, but through immersive storytelling, they have a very different perspective, you know. And it's not just immersive media, obviously books have been able to do that. So much of life is about that. So if you see it within that, it's just this new way that is so powerful and so interesting if you get it right, you know.
My guess is everybody who's here, you're here for a reason. You're here because you want to be telling stories, you want to be making stuff, you're willing to embrace these new technologies to make them work for you. And I think that we need you, that we need each other. And I don't know any other way forward. That we're going to have to do, I mean, after this election, I didn't sleep last night because I saw what happened the last time, and why America's forgotten, I don't know. But I need you. I need you. I need you to be telling these stories of peace. I need you to work with us. I need for us to find international ways that we can collaborate together to tell stories of peace in the face of whatever terror they might throw at us. We can continue to create things that are beautiful and important and connecting and full of love. And I hope that we'll do this together.
Thank you, thank you. I really felt that because, well, the same. I consider that whenever you create something, it starts with an idea and also from your heart. And even if it's a story that is for all entertainment and whatever, but something in your heart wants to tell a story. You want to tell your own story for first instance. But whenever you realize that you want to tell the story of the people that is around you, your country, your culture, and also the abundance of nature that we have around us, that's the best way to feel complete, when you want to show what you are, what brings you here, and transform that into a story probably from another person every director in film and even in VR puts a part of its heart and the other part of the heart of the person that they are talking about. But it's both hearts working together. So my invitation would be that, to put your heart into what you want to tell and to inspire other people to connect with that matters. Even if it's a story of a person or nature or whatever you want to tell, put your heart first. And there's always hope. There's always a way to inspire other people to really believe that there's something beyond bad news, because we are bumped with bad news all the time. Well, there are good news as well, but to reach those good news, you need to heal first, and to not to ignore that bad things are happening, but to understand that within yourself you can transform those bad things into good things. And I'm with you, Nonny, and with you, Gabo, that, well, we need to tell these stories. We need to create more experiences. It's going to be difficult. It's never easy. As Gabo said, and Nonny, they have made projects with no funding. So do I. Sometimes there's funding, sometimes there's not. But you need to balance that in order to really do what your heart wants to do. And I will follow another advice that someone told me, that it's not that good, but it's good at the same time. Well, do projects for profit and save part of that profit for good things. And sometimes that's the best way to do it. I remember who said that. Tupac Martyr, he was, probably you know him. He was in a festival, and he was saying that, well, I need to make 10 projects that are profitable to make one that is not profitable. But sometimes that's the way. If that doesn't work for you, well, try the hard way, but try it. Do it and take the first step. And well, thank you very much. Would you like to add something to close?
No, if there's any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you for inviting me to this beautiful space. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Gabi.
Hello. I wanted to ask about financing. Where do you recommend us to go? Which are the best events, like, to promote our work or producers? If you can give us like some tips to grow faster, that would be great for our community to know. Thank you.
I think Nonny had mentioned Agog, agog.org is funding things in this space. I think there's a lot of potential sometimes in co-productions with Canada or France or other European countries that do have more robust funding. I think in the United States there isn't a lot of funding for the arts, if I'm not mistaken.
You're very right.
And it makes it very hard. But the difference is there's a lot of rich people in America, in the United States, that you can corner at a cocktail party, like I said, and just pitch to them, and so it's a different method. And then there's another interesting way, I think Nonny has found and I found, is through universities. Universities, can apply for grants, and it takes longer, but I've found that to be, you just kind of do it and you forget about it, and 2 years later someone calls you and say they got it. But it's not the best sort of way, but doing those collaborations with some, universities in the United States, because universities in the United States have extremely high endowments, which they're extremely wealthy, so those are other ways, but it is not 100% easy in that way. I really like, in terms of people who are the best festivals and producers. Unfortunately, Sundance's New Frontier, which is the kind of
What's the gold standard?
everything that just Sherry Freelo there is not able to run it in the same way. I think IDFA in Amsterdam for nonfiction storytelling, Casper is extremely strong and generous. So if you have any idea, I know he's helped people all over Latin America as well. And so I think in a lot of ways, yeah, he famously helped someone, brought someone over from Iran who was really into Ali Islami. And so he works very much with people from the Western context to kind of give advice on funding, to kind of support a lot of virtual reality projects. So I think that is probably I think he's an incredible curator and supporter of this type of work.
Just from the ground level, you'll need to make a prototype. Most people won't fund a piece of paper if you've never made something. So the first step is the hardest, I know, to learn some of these tools and try to make at least some sort of a prototype that can inspire people to want to fund you. So then your second step, which also kind of sucks, the festivals are great because you end up with a lot of wonderful people, but you usually have to spend your own money to get there. South by Southwest is a great festival. Everybody goes. Everybody goes. There's a lot of projects, but there's lots of people there, and you'll be standing in line for coffee, and you'll meet your next collaborator. It's crazy wonderful. The third step after that, funders love to fund consortiums. They like to say, oh, I'm giving money, and it's going to affect a lot of people, not just one person. So if you think about how you could create a group that then you could pitch to larger organizations, Rockefeller, Ford, like I said, now GOG's in the business, MacArthur. These are places that may be interested if you had a Mexican collective of XR artists. I'm just throwing out ideas. But these are the individual, literally steps that you need to go through. I'm always learning about things that fund XR that surprise me. But I do think we should have more of a directory where people can apply. And maybe that's a next step out of this conference.
Yes, certainly. And also, my advice will be to be persistent as well, because
Don't take no for an answer.
Yes,
Do not
yes.
let them stop you.
the process might take months or years even, but when you have a prototype, when you have a project, and you move, eventually you will get there. You will get to the right people. And of course, these alliances and the connections, and also we're pretty close to the States, and we have a problem here in Mexico, I have to say, that government doesn't include these new technologies in their status or the laws. So it's really difficult to push a project like this. It's easier with film or other, well, it has its difficulties, but it's a lot easier than pushing a VR project. And as community, we're pushing that there's a recognition, because with these treaties that are between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, there could be more opportunities. But that's a step that we have to do as Mexicans, to push our government, and we're on that, to recognize that this is a valid way of telling stories. And I say it openly, we need to do it. And after that, well, apply for public funding, but as private also, well, as you said, it's really interesting that there are many organizations in the States or companies that might be able to fund this. And well, it's not easy sometimes to go there, but well, that's why we are here in the festivals, Gabi and I, and some other festivals like Figma and other spaces that include this. We are really compromised to hear you all, to hear all the creators. If you have a project, please come with us, and we can bridge you with some other people that we know. I work for Guanajuato International Film Festival. Sara, our director, is really good also as connecting. So we are here for you. That's what I want to say. And well, thank you for being here and well, making this possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, we are moving to the next presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.